Welcome to Psychology the Daf. We are in Gemara Pesachim, Daf Chaf Hey. Now the Gemara over here looks at the pasuk, the one we're very familiar with in Shema, where it says, "V'avta es Hashem Elokecha." You should love your God, b'chol levavcha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol meodecha. So b'chol levavcha we'll talk about a little bit later, but right now the Gemara talks about b'chol nafshecha, v'chol meodecha. Why does it have to say both? All of your possessions and all of your soul. Basically, either one is pretty obvious in and of itself and quite absolute. So the Gemara says that there are different types of people. There's one kind of person who values his body over his wealth, so he will risk all his money for his well-being and safety. And there's another kind of person that would even risk death not to lose their money. Therefore, the Torah is asking the person to be ready to make both sacrifices, to make a sacrifice in either direction, depending on his personality. So, the problem with this Gemara that I find to be odd is the Gemara treats these two types of individuals as if they're on equal footing, as if it's normal. I mean, is it like some people like chocolate, some people like vanilla? I mean, is it really normal for someone to be ready to give up his life for his money? The attachment to money could be so strong, and even if it is, that should be accepted as normal. So the Pashup Pshat is, yeah, much as we hate to deny it, too many of us do risk our lives, or at least our well-being, for money. So maybe the Gemara is just being honest. However, the Levush Yisrad in Arvei Nachal commentary on Vayishlach, he offers a different Hasidic Pshat in the Gemara. He doesn't ask my question. He asked a different question that's important as well. He says the Gemara learns it in a singular language. Elalom lach, to say to you, yesh adam shekufo im yesh adam shekufo chavav lo mamono lekach nemar b'chol nafshecha. If there is a person who his body is more important than his money, so it says b'chol nafshecha. You have to be ready to give up even your body. You have to be ready to die for it. And if somebody cares more about their money than their life, then that. So we're talking to two different people. So why is it said in singular? It should be talking to groups of people, because one kind of person is too attached to their money and would rather give up their life than their money, and the other person is attached to life and would rather give up their money than their life. Why is it said in a singular language? So he offers the following, but in order to understand what I'm about to say, he gives a primer in the Arizal, which what one needs to understand about how it works with the soul in this world is that every time somebody succumbs to a sin, that aspect of their soul somehow becomes trapped and enslaved into that physicality. And should the person not do tshuva, when they die, a piece of them is left behind, trapped, almost like a gilgal, but like a partial gilgal, trapped inside this object that he sinned with, money or a body, doesn't matter what it is. And what the Arizal says is that if a person does a mitzvah, if a tzaddik does a mitzvah and engages in this world through that mitzvah with the right intentions, then it liberates and elevates that aspect of somebody's soul that was trapped and locked into this physicality. So for example, one can eat, one can drink, one can do all kinds of things in service of Hashem. When it's done properly by a tzaddik, that aspect of reality, that aspect of spirituality is liberated and brought back to the source. Now, if we were to say that, then what we need to understand is there really are two ways that a tzaddik, says the Arvei Nachal, can serve Hashem. One is to be a parish, to really not benefit from this world very much. That's the safe road because he runs no risk of being drawn into and sucked into physicality. On the other hand, though, the highest level is to actually be involved in this world and liberate the material by doing mitzvahs and bringing up this physical world. And that accomplishes two things. First of all, the tzaddik's body will then be elevated and liberated, and that is the tzaddik's department no matter what, because he's born with a body, so he can elevate and liberate his body. And also the other people in the world who have sinned and they remain somehow trapped in physicality. A part of their neshama remains trapped and attached and left behind in physicality, now can be liberated and released and returned to the source. So now this brings us to a rereading of the Gemara. We look at the Gemara as follows: Elalomer lach, rather to say to you, the tzaddik, im yesh adam shagufu chavol mimamono, there are some kinds of people who they valued their body above all. They will be trapped in some physical aspect of the body even after they pass away, and therefore when the tzaddik does something physical with the body, l'shem shemaim, he'll be liberate that. And yesh adam, and there's another kind of person, that he values money over everything else, and he will find himself trapped in some place, his soul trapped in some place having to do with money. And again, if a tzaddik uses money and material goods for a mitzvah or for good things, he will be able to liberate that aspect of a person's soul that's trapped there. And that's why the earlier part of the pasuk says, "B'chol levavcha," with all your heart. The Gemara in Brachos on Daf Nun Daled Amud Aleph says, "B'shnei yitzarecha," b'yetzer tov v'yetzer hara. With all your heart means with your two inclinations, the yetzer tov and the yetzer hara. And that's the tzaddik who uses physicality as well as spirituality to serve God. Now, you might think all this is merely a Hasidic Shavart, right? But no self-respecting Litvak would say such a thing. However, of course, in the time of the Ramchal, there was no Litvak or Hasidim, but the point is that the Ramchal, who's an unimpeachable authority, he says in the Mesilas Yesharim, which might as well be the handbook for all Litvaks, he says in the end of Mesilas Yesharim, in Parak Chaf Vav, pretty much the same thing. Let's read it in Hebrew and in English. A man who's sanctified with the holiness of his Creator, afilu masav agashmiim, even his physical deeds, chozim lios inyane kedusha mamish, they become actual matters of holiness. So we see from here that this concept that's discussed in Chassidus actually exists in the fullest representation of Yiddishkeit, and that the highest level is to actually be able to enjoy this world and benefit this world in the course of doing mitzvahs in order to elevate and liberate physicality.